like a minute or so for it to actually kick on to Facebook. So,
Okay.
but the recording is started. So, and I'm gonna start talking. I want to welcome everybody to the boss leaders and business owners of the 21st century authors roundtable discussion. It's your boy. It's your boy, the impact builder, Leroy McKenzie Jr. coming to you. And I got a couple of friends with me tonight that's hanging with me. And we thought it would be just a great idea to come and talk about being an author, this authorpreneur, this author's journey that we are all on, and talk about the good things, the bad things, what this author's journey is all about, to give some of the aspiring authors an idea of what it looks like to be an author, what it feels like to be an author, and then we also talking to those authors that can kind of chime in and relate to the experiences that we've had and that we'll be talking about this evening. So we want y'all to, first of all, if you're on watching us live, and even if you're watching the replay, we want you to like, we want you to share, we want you to comment in the comments field here on Facebook Live, because we want to hear from you. We want to get your feedback. We want to get what it is that you have to say about being an author. If you're an author, say I'm an author. You can put that in the comments there. Say me, say hi. Great to be here, and we want to thank everybody for being here tonight. And we're going to start off by just having everybody introduce themselves. And then we'll go into kind of where we kind of talk about who we, kind of who, a little bit more about who we are, how we got started writing, and then the journey, a little bit about the journey, and then we're going to kind of have our conversation about being an author and all of those things. So I'm going to start to looking at my computer. I'm going to start with the young lady that's at the top with me, and that's Miss Vanessa. You want to introduce yourself to everybody real quickly?
Hi, my name is Vanessa Fleeton, and I am a local author and speaker at VAF Inspires. And I just love what I do. And thank you for having me today.
And then I'm going to go down to my bottom left, the young lady, Miss Connie, down there in the corner.
Oh, thank you so much for calling me young. I like that. Virtual hug. I'm Connie Amos Parsons, and I have a great sense of humor. I'm an author and a professional speaker, and I love what I do. I have a passion for writing, a passion for just passing on the knowledge and abilities that God gave me. So it's great to be here this evening.
Absolutely. And last but not least, this third young lady. Hey, fellas, I'm sorry. Y'all just gonna have to be jealous tonight, because it's just me. It's just me up in here, up in here, up in here. So, but I'm gonna have this last young lady introduce herself to everybody. You want to tell everybody about yourself, Miss Tan?
Absolutely. First, I want to just thank you, Leroy and Connie, for even inviting me at the round table with these magnificent authors that's been out there. I'm fairly new to the game. I'm an author, entrepreneur. I'm also a life coach and a mentor, and a author consultant as well as a speaker. And I just love writing. I love what I do, and I love these people that I'm here with today, and I'm ready to learn from them. And I hope you guys are ready too. Thank you.
Cool. So we want to thank everybody for coming. I thank you, ladies, for joining in on this. Miss Connie, thank you for the vision of wanting to do this, and being a part of the boss leaders and business owners of the 21st century, the group, and wanting to actually give those authors that may be in the group, give them an idea of what it is to be an author. So we hope that the authors are tuning in, and we hope that everybody else is tuning in too, because it's not just about being an author. As I always say, your book is just the launch pad for everything else that you do with your business. Your brand and your business should be all incorporated in what you do as an author. It should be a part of who you introduce yourself as, because it is vitally important to use that as a one stream of income that you have. And
Yes.
that's one of the things that I think each of us as authors have in common here, is that it's not just about the books, but it's also about those other aspects that we use to be able to add to us being authors to it and everything like that, and how important that is. So we're gonna get started like this, and I was told that I had to start it off. So uh, so um, I'll start by telling my just a little bit about my story, and then we'll let everybody kind of talk a little bit about their backgrounds and stuff. I started my writing journey back when I was in college, and I wasn't an author back then, but what I was I started writing poetry. I was writing poetry back in school. Didn't have any idea that didn't have a purpose for doing it. I had a purpose for doing it, and it was just to get what was in my head out. It was just some thoughts and things that I wanted to get out of me, and they came out in the form of poetry. And I'm a passionate poet. And I love writing poetry because I found myself back then just writing about my experiences, writing about friends' experiences, things that I had seen, and it was just a way for me to be able to get what was in me outside of me. And years later, after being out of school, I showed my work to some friends, and they were like, "Well, you should put this in a book." And I didn't know anything about writing at the time. Didn't know what it took to to be an author, what you needed to do and stuff. So I started to do my research, started to find out kind of what I needed to do, and I knew that I didn't want to be someone who went the mainstream way of writing his books, because I didn't want to go to a traditional publisher and have them to tell me what my vision was for my books, or for my book at the time. And actually two books at the time, because I had enough. Didn't believe I did, but at the time I had written so much poetry, and I didn't think I had enough. But I wound up having two books in the beginning, two books of poetry. So I didn't want to have somebody else to tell me what my vision could be, and controlling kind of what I saw as what I wanted to do. And I'd always had that entrepreneurial spirit in me. So I was just saying, I'm not having anybody tell me what my vision should look like. So did my research, and wound up figuring out what I needed to do to put those two books out there, and wound up putting those two books out along with my apparel line that I had at the time, or I still have it now, my Try Three Jesus line, and started it from there. And then as I moved into corporate America, I found that one, I didn't fit in, but two, I found that they didn't. Corporate America was being run. I call it being run into the hole, and this was around that 1999, going into the new millennium. So everybody was talking about the big crash that was going to happen, and all of these things. And I noticed that there were companies that they were being run at, but they were being run in the wrong way. There was no, to me, they didn't have a clear understanding of leadership, and as a result of it, a lot of the companies fell. They crashed, bankrupt, went out of business, and everything like that. So I started thinking of what was it that I could do, that I could contribute to assisting businesses to go wrong. So the first book that I wrote, and I created a book series called the Building the 21st Century book series at the time. And the first book that I wrote, um, it focused on business and finance, um, a healthy work environment, maximizing productivity, and then creating a increasing your bottom line. And the title of that book was "The Customer's Not Always Right." That was the first business book that I wrote. I actually still have it here. You can see that. This is the first one
Okay.
that I wrote. This is the first business book that I wrote. So, and I wanted it, and I wrote it because I was just like, man, these companies are just, they're doing themselves a disservice, and they're going to wind up going out of business. And true to form, a lot of those businesses that came into going into that late 90s, going into the early 2000s, just found themselves just folding and running into, and I was just like, see, this is what I'm telling you. Leadership was lacking, and I wanted to be able to talk about what I thought were the causes of that. So that led me to the second book that I wrote, which was on entrepreneurship. And I took 40 entrepreneurs that were under the age of 40 who were not in music, sports, or entertainment. And I had them, I had them, we did a profile on them where I talked about their particular businesses, how they got started as being an entrepreneur, what made them want to be an entrepreneur, where they saw their particular businesses, their industries now, where they saw them and then in the future. And we just talked about, we had a conversation about that, and I put that conversation into a book. And it was one of the, that's honestly, I can honestly say that's probably one of my favorite books, because I was able to get different aspects of entrepreneurship and how people's journey was. So that's why doing this authors roundtable is the same way, where you bring a group of people who are like-minded, who have something in common, who are doing certain things, and we get to have conversations about it, to be able to talk to other people about how to do it, those things that we did right, those things that we did wrong, those things that made us feel really good, and those things that we have going on. So those are just a couple of books. I'm not going to talk long. I'm not going to keep going on, but those are just a couple of the books that I've written. I've written a total of 7 books myself, and then I was a part of an anthology that I was a part of called Next Level Leaders, and it was it's a book, that compilation book of 10 men that wrote, and we all talked about leadership from our perspective and everything like that. So that was awesome to be a part of as well. And then I have a couple other books, another book of poetry, and then I have a book for men, The Power of a Man, Faith, Family, Finance, and Future. So, and then the main book that I talked about leadership. This is the other one. This was the third book in that Build the 21st Century Leadership series that I did. And it has been it's been a great journey. And then once I got into writing my books, other people, of course, started asking me, well, how'd you do this and how'd you do that? And, what about this and those things? So I started saying, well, if people are coming to me and I can be able to assist them, then that's what I'll do. I'll start assisting them to be able to publish their books, to be able to get their messages out there, which has been one of the mainstays with me, is having people to be able to get their message, their missions, their motivation, and their movements out to the people in such a way that we affect people's lives and impact people's lives in a greater way. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So, how about you, Miss Vanessa?
Okay, so I wasn't always a writer. I'm more of a speaker. So I've been talking probably since birth. It's a gift of mine. I got in trouble many of times, and I had to write. Remember, we had to write in school. I would not talk. I would not talk. I got in trouble many of times because the teachers didn't know how to use my gift. So I've always loved to talk. So I'm trying to think back to, I guess I started speaking in public when I worked for the government, and they allowed me to teach a managing personal finances class, because finances is my passion, my gift. So that's when I publicly started teaching classes and speaking. But as I was in college, I went to PG Community College and majored in business management. And I realized that that's not what I wanted to do, even though that's a good field, and it's kind of a broad field. But once I graduated, I went back a few years later because I realized that communication was my passion, and that's what I wanted to do. So I switched my major to broadcast journalism. And I was told I had to do 4 years, even with transferring credits. So I was a little upset about that, because by then I was a little older. So I just kind of hung in there. And during that time in college, I was already working for Radio One. And so that was a dream of mine. However, I was still working for the government. So it was kind of hard to juggle both. And I had to kind of decide. And now I look back, to say what could have happened if I would have stayed with Radio One. And now they're TV One. But I just had to stay the course because by then I had already had so many years in the government. So I would say 2013, I was going through a lot at my job, and I just look at so many things that I've gone through, and I'm like, well, how can I help somebody else? Because what I've gone through is not for nothing. So I started going through a lot with that last job, and I started writing a book. And I didn't know that, a year later, what would happen. But I started writing the book, and it was my first book. I've changed the cover since then, but it's the first book. Here she is, Pushing Through the Pain to Pursue Your Purpose. So this was the first book I released 2013. And since then, I have early retired from the federal government. I was 46 years old. I was 1 month from my 47th birthday. So I'll have to get more involved into that. Maybe a third book. Maybe Mr. Leroy may have to help me. And I have some great authors on here that I can look forward, to teaming up with. So that was a life-changing situation for me. I stepped out on faith. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know if I was going to fall. I just knew that I was going to jump in the water swimming, whether I drowned or not. So God is just so faithful. I am a Christian. So God is just so faithful that he's looked out for me. And it's been almost 5 years. So since then, I published, this is the second one, Preparing Today for the Life You Want Tomorrow, 8 Steps to Pursue Your Dreams. So I published this, I guess, maybe a year or two ago, and the forward is Dr. Willie Jolly. I love him. So, and this is a collage of different people living their dreams. So it's me writing the draft of the book while I was waiting to get my hair done, me speaking, someone at the bottom, the photographer, a lady working out, and me in St. Thomas, because I love to travel. A graduate, just different people doing different things, cruising. I love to cruise. So it represents different aspects of me in my life. So this book kind of mainly talks about, and it was funny when you said it, Leroy, because I also talk about family, faith, and finances and your future. So that's what I focused on. Again, I always wanted to do a financial book. My faith is what got me through, is what's getting me through now. You can never step out on faith without really having a solid background. And people need to have good financial skills if you ever want to prepare for tomorrow, because I didn't realize that 30 years ago, I started when I was 5, so I'm not that old, but 30 something years ago, I was preparing for my future. And I didn't realize it because I've been working, since I was a teenager. But I started investing before I even knew what investing was. So I started investing in what they call a thrift savings plan, TSP, in the federal government. And that money has what helped me, because you think you're going to do such and such when you retire, but certain things come your way, whether home repairs, car repairs, will be an accident, pain, sickness. So you may not can jump into what you think you want to do. So your finances have to be straight, and it doesn't start in the pocketbook. I'm kind of old school, pocketbook, purse, whatever. The financial wisdom starts in the mindset. So that's one thing I try to get through to people. And I have gone before the board of DC and Maryland to get finances in schools. And some schools finally have finances, because you have to be straight in your finances. And, just preparing for your future. Like I said, I had no idea. If I hadn't prepared back then I wouldn't be able to retire early, and all the stress I dealt with, and to be able to walk away and still, have a life ahead of me. And I forgot to mention that my last agency was threatened termination. So that was another issue. So I'm definitely going to get more into that. I'm going to have to write a book about that, because God definitely came through with that. So my passion is speaking. I love inspiring people. I love helping people. Strangers will come up to me and they will tell me secrets they've never told anybody. So that lets me know that there's a connection there with people, and that they trust me, and that they open up to me, and that my story is helping them. And so in my first book, I did reveal secrets that I had never told anybody. And I started not to put it in the book, but I said, no, this one thing probably could save somebody's life, or help them get through the other side and not want to give up on life. So like I said, I've always loved to speak. I love what I do. I don't care what I'm going through that day. I will push through that pain and I don't even feel what I'm going through, because the last two speaking engagements, I felt so bad. But I forgot all about it. I forgot about the pain. I had a fever. I had pink eye. I was so sick. But God allowed me to go up there, and I had some great feedback, and I had some great points and some great tips to give people. And so it just goes to show, when you're walking in your purpose, nothing else matters, because your gift is definitely going to make room for you. So that's my story,
Great.
and I'm sticking to it.
That's great.
Miss
So
Connie.
I am next. You know, it's so interesting, Vanessa. We had communication, but I didn't know your story, and we have a lot of similarities, commonality.
Wow.
Yes. So I started off. I was born and raised in Lynchburg, Virginia, and I went to college at Johnson C. Smith University for a year and a half, and then I dropped out of college because I was young and I thought I knew it all. And I moved to Washington, D.C. and worked in the federal government for a few years. And then I realized in order to get promoted, I needed to get a bachelor's degree. So I went back to school, got a scholarship, or I should, not scholarship, a grant, and went back to school and worked full time. And at the time I was married and had both of my children as well. Fast forward, I retired early. I was a project manager and a senior management analyst when I retired from the USDA. And I decided I was going to have my own business. And I'm going to fast forward again to 2017. I went to a funeral of one of my close friends in elementary school all the way through high school. And I knew the cause of her death, and I spoke at her funeral. And it just seemed like I was numb for about a week and a half. And then I went to church one Sunday, and the same sermon that the visiting minister had, the same sermon that scripture that was preached at her during her obituary. And so I knew then that God was speaking to me to tell my story. So I had not told anybody, other than my mom knew about it, but I hadn't told anybody that my first husband, I was a victim of spousal abuse. So my first book started off, I didn't want anybody to, can you see it? I didn't want anybody to just think that there was something bad about it or negative. So I said, let me tell my whole story. So it turned into a Christian nonfiction book. And I started out with my grandparents, who I'm part Native American. My grandmother was full Native American. And I started off with my grandparents and then my parents. And then I went into all my childhood and what happened to me. Um, it was about more than that, because I have had a brush with death over 6 times in my life, starting at 10 years old. I was bitten by a snake, and then also I used to be an outdoorsy person. So I was in the backyard at 10 years old, had a little garden of my own, and I was bitten by a snake, a copperhead. And then later on, I had pneumonia and almost passed. So I said, God intended for me to be here for a reason, because I had so many brushes with death. And so in my book, it's 13 chapters. It's very short book. It's not long, because I didn't need to tell all of my life. I just wanted to tell my life story to help people and to motivate and inspire people, not to bring people down. But chapter 6 in my book tells about the spousal abuse that I went through, and then how I left with both of my children, and I fled for my life, and I hid out for a year and got an apartment, and how things happened then. I don't want to go into detail, but that was another time that I had a brush with death, and my ex-husband found me. And so I can honestly say that I have had a gun in my face, and I'm here to tell you that God gave me the wherewithal to escape from that. So that is in my book, and I went on to chapter 7 to chapter 13 and told how I overcame. I'm not a survivor. I am a survivor, but I'm not a victim. I never say that I'm a victim, because I overcame through faith and confidence. So I named my book the second time around The first one, my publisher said it wasn't a good appeal. It didn't have a good catchy title. So I renamed it Peaks, Valleys, and Overcoming the Odds, Stepping Out on Faith and Confidence. And I truly have strong faith in God. And I truly have confidence to know that I can make it no matter what the odds are against me. And so my children now are doing wonderful. My daughter's works in the federal government. She's in no, she's in Justice Department, and she's doing well. And my son is in Dallas, and he's married, and they're doing great. So the story ended up really well. I decided later on, then God was talking to me and pushing me to my purpose, walking in my purpose. And so the second writing that I did was I had a group of ladies empowering, empowering us to speak out and inspiring women to speak out. So I was I got several other authors to write their story, and I wanted to continue to write. And some of them decided, they didn't want to join me on my journey. So then last year in January, I decided, well, on break, I'm going to take some time and look at my notes. And I keep a journal. And so this journal, I had all of this good information in answer to my Facebook group questions to wedding and events planners and my business answers. And I decided to copy and paste those on my notes, and then to copy into a Word document. And I had my second book, which is How Did I Change My Life Today? 8 Steps to Success. And everything in here was done on Facebook group. So if you're giving a lot of answers to questions and answers on your Facebook group, you can go back and copy it and paste it, and you can turn it into a book, a good starter for a book. But this book here, How Did I Change My Life Today? 8 Steps to Success, it actually wasn't published by Library of Congress, but it was a journal that my publisher made for me, and that's sold out already. And it really is helpful to people. It helps you with, everybody has an idea or have a goal setting, and they want to achieve their goals. Your dream become your goals, and you have goal setting, but everybody doesn't know how to plan and to strategize and to execute it. So in this second book, I put down how to plan, because I am a wedding and events planner, and I have my own business, At Your Service Events Planner, LLC, for 13 years. So I put down planning was the first thing. Then you have your goal setting, and then you strategize, and then you focus. And it's amazing at how many people that you get off focus and you can't reach your goals because you lack focus. And it happens to all of us because circumstances happen during your life, doing with your family, with your friends, on your job. And if you don't focus, you won't succeed. So I have that in terms of how to focus, and then how to resolve your issues, and then how to be successful. And then I said, repeat the process with everything that you do with your personal goals, with your business goals, with your relationship goals, because everything you want, they say, goal setting, and they say it's dating goals or marriage goals. And so why not apply those same things to every goal or every dream that you have? And it's a process about doing that. I also put in 20 tips for businesses, no matter what businesses it is, whether it's wedding and events planning or writing or book or being an entrepreneur selling earrings. I put in 20 tips for businesses. I actually have more than that, but I only put in 20 in my book. And I also did some affirmations, and I wanted people to, the purpose of all of this is to have people, men and women and teenagers, because you have a lot of Gen Z who are entrepreneurs. to be able to take their God-given gifts and their talents and to be able to pursue your goals and to be able to be successful. And I've also been a mentor. I started in the federal government. The last agency I was at with USDA. So I've been a mentor with a management analyst and program analyst. And now the mentor mentee that I have, she's 13 now and she's working on her 14. So I've also mentored with events planners. So I enjoy doing that. It's almost like you're helping people and you're coaching people to be their best. And you are an expert and you have knowledge in that field. So it's not difficult for you. And I try to help people to be the best that they can be and to bring out their God-given gifts. So that is my purpose. I guess my brand is I want to empower people. I want to educate. I want to be able to inspire and to motivate and to uplift people. I feel that that is what my purpose is too, for being here, for God keeping me here, and also to be the best that I can. I'm not perfect. I'm not trying to be perfect. I'm trying to be the best that I can. But whatever gifts God gives me and whatever positive attitude and He gives me, I want to share with others. I don't think I have anything else to say about it other than the fact that I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to see you, Leroy and Vanessa and Tammy, to be here. Encourage all authors to don't give up on your dream. Oh, I have a tip for you for authors. When you have an idea, write it down immediately. So Leroy said, what is the hardest thing to do? If you have that idea, wherever it comes from, have your cell phone. Most people have it next to you in bed or on the nightstand. If it's in the middle of the night, if God sends you that idea, get up and write it down, because I had several ideas at the beginning of my first book, and the next day I forgot what they were. So write those ideas down so that you won't forget. My first book took 19 days to write. And then my second book took probably a week because I already had the notes. But I had help of God. I didn't do it by myself. Every time I would have an idea, I would write it down in my cell phone in my notes and then transfer my notes and upload it to Microsoft Word and turn it into a manuscript. So don't forget those ideas. Always know that whatever you get distracted from, try to focus on what your ideas are as the author. And my hat's off to people who do fiction books, who have that creativity. I wrote about real things, real subjects, so it was easier for me. But I applaud you all. And then the last thing I have to say is I did some research about authors. Authors are a small percentage of the population. It was in 2017, it was less than 250,000 people who were authors and writers and editors. And so this is something that, again, that is a special gift that you have. So feel free to contact any of us if you want to have some kind of ideas or us to help you get started. I'm sure that we will be glad to give you a few tips to help you. So thanks a lot. Connie Amos Parsons, owner at Your Service Events Planner LLC, speaker, educator, and I'm even a wedding officiant. So contact me if you know. Thank you so much.
Now, Miss Tammy, and we're going to get into this because I've just listened to you all. I'm going to point something out, but Tammy, let's hear about your journey and being a writer and everything.
One, I want to piggyback off on Miss Connie. She's absolutely correct because that's how I got started. Write down your ideas as soon as you get them. She's absolutely correct. So that's how my journey got started with my book. Because I was just writing, I was purging, like you were saying, Leroy, you just wanted to get it out. So a lot of you guys' story actually is all of me in one. So y'all touched on a lot of me. And that's how I started writing. And actually, I just started journaling my pain. As Vanessa was saying about the pain, I started purging it. I wanted to get it out. And that began my healing process. And about my story and what I went through as well, as far as abuse and, molestation and rape. I had to get it out. And the name of my book in the beginning was Telling Your Story, because telling your story is healing. But then I started to meditate on it, and I said, oh, that's too long. But I know I wanted that to be the foundation of my book. And so it became from my brokenness to my wholeness. But still within the book, I spoke on it within a chapter about telling your story, and telling your story is healing. And within the book, it has, in between each chapter, you're able to write and journal yourself, and you can produce your own book as well by journaling. Every chapter has where you can journal and write, and you can produce your own book. My journey actually started a long time ago, like with Leroy, but I never produced anything at that time. I was also, I wrote poetry a lot. And when I was 12, 13, 14, that's how I got started with that. But I lost everything when my mom passed away. So when my mom passed away and I lost everything when I was moving from one state to another, I lost my passion for writing. But I always knew I wanted to work with girls and work with women. I always wanted to work with girls and women. That's my true passion. And my business is the Women's Wellness Connection Center, which that I'm launching to help women to start empowering themselves, understanding their worth, understanding value, my mission, and that's my vision, to get women back to understanding who they are and whose they are. With my foundation being in God. And I had all this information, like Connie was saying, I have it in my phone, and it was just all over the place. And I end up in the hospital in May, and I almost died. And don't nobody know, because I really don't talk about it, but I end up in the hospital in May on Mother's Day with the same issue that my mom had. I have blood clots on my brain, and she had blood clots on her brain on Mother's Day too. So I didn't even think about it. So I ended up in the hospital with that. And then after me ended up in the hospital, I was there. And when I came back, I ended up being off work for 3 months. So I'd only been back at work for 2 weeks now. So I'm just getting back to work. But I felt like it was a moment in time when, like with the pandemic, I don't see it as a curse or a negative for me. It actually birthed who I am and birthed the vision that God has for my life and the purpose that I always knew. But now it's coming out, and it's just coming on out. And so I wrote my book in 2 days, because I had it all together. But all I did was have to get organized. So once God sat me down, once I got out of the hospital and my family came down, after about a couple more weeks, about a month, I said, you know what? I'm going to finish my book. And I sat down at that table, and I just got all my notes together, and I purged it out, and I organized it, because I'm a writer. I know I'm an organizer. And like you say, Connie, you have to write these things down. So when I did that, that produced my book, and I produced it in 2 days. So, because it is my story, and my story is about a little girl from the age of 12 to 13. It's actually a trilogy. I'm working on part 2. That's part 1, a girl from 12 to 16. It talks about molestation, the girl being raped, which is me, of course. But it also talks about forgiveness. It also talks about healing. It also talks about where do you go from here. It also speaks to your spirit, speaks to who you are. Thank you, Miss Connie. Miss Connie is awesome, guys. I'm telling you.
You forgot your book, so I had to put it up, Master. I don't know when she's going to put it up, but yeah.
I don't even have it on me. Thank you, Miss Connie.
Yes, I got you there, girl.
And that's how I got started with my journey. I'm on part 2, dating to marriage. Is going to be intense. I like Vanessa, some things I did not want to put in my book. And when I went to my editor, she gave me feedback. She didn't even edit my book a whole lot. Like, she really didn't do, only feedback she gave me. She wanted me to be more detailed in chapter 1, which was like really like gruesome for me. And I still only gave I gave a little bit, but it was just too much, because I started having to go back through it and remember, you know what I mean, bringing all that pain back in. But I knew as I purged all of it, I knew in that moment that I was healed.
Yes.
And I was set free from all of that. And I knew in that moment I was ready to go to this girl and go to this woman, and then, you know, and it's also about preventing these things from happening versus after they happen.
Mhm.
But after they happen, it shows you how to, where you can go. You don't have to go to your mom. You don't have to go to a friend. You don't have to go. It gives you different avenues of who you go to, a coach. You can go to a counselor. You don't have to tell your parents why you want to go to a counselor, because I know for me, when I went to my grandmother about it, for me, you know, she refused me. And I know that happens in a lot of houses where mothers say, oh, that didn't happen to you. Oh, just pray about it. And da-da-da. So you don't just tell them, listen, I need somebody to talk to, you know, just I'm going through some things right now and I want to vent to someone. Go to that counselor and find somebody you can trust. And that's what it's about, you know, and that's my journey. And my journey continues on right now to continue to write and to continue to launch my business for the Women's Wellness Connection Center. Right now, I'm going to do it virtually. I'm going to launch it next month, where only 5 women can come in the room, guys, because, you know, women like to talk. So I'm only inviting 5 women at a time. Okay.
Of one.
Yes, we do. Yes.
That's right. So you
Yes,
got
we
4
do.
more left.
Y'all notice I'm
Right.
sitting here quiet, right?
That's right.
Yes.
Just to get some mentorship, some coaching to coach you through. It's going to be kind of like group therapy, but it's going to be called Girl Talks, for you to just vent, to get it out, to tell your story. We're going to have candles in the background. Bring your candles. We're going to bring some essential oils, and, you know, have a glass of wine and some cheese.
That's
And we're going to
right.
have girl talks. You know, that's what it's going to start out as. And then in 2021, as I build my mansion, at the bottom of it, it's going to be a living room. It's going to be called the living room for girl
Mhm.
talks. The same, only 5 women can come at a time, have some wine and talk. And
Mhm.
I'm also a Christian counselor. I have my 4-year degree in that. I also have my degree in science and education. I have my I am a coach as well as an entrepreneur and a consultant, author consultant, where I can help you produce your book from beginning on your journey to the end, even to help you self-publish it. I'm also a mentor and life coach. My passion is healing. That's my passion, is to help people to get back to healing.
Mhm.
That's it.
That's it. That's good. That's
Wow. I
that's
mean,
one.
I don't know if the viewers have been able to listen to each of you all's stories individually, but as I'm sitting here listening to you all, y'all gotta forgive me, but when I hear something, I've gotta take that and engage it into the conversation. But I've noticed that each of your books, each of you all's books, are about you all specifically. And Tammy, you picked up on it, and I'm gonna start with you with talking about this. You're talking about writing when you were writing your story and having
Right.
to go back to that place that
Mhm.
you went to. And I tell my clients this all the time when they're writing their personal stories. I said, it's going to take you back there. So you have to
Mm,
be prepared to go there. If you're not, then don't.
Yes.
But
That's
you
right.
have to be prepared, because all of those emotions, all of those feelings, all of that hurt, everything that you felt back then, you're going to feel in writing this. Because if you don't, then something's wrong. You're not really right. But
mm.
if you all could, if each of you could just talk about, as an author, when you decided to write your books, having to go back to that place and what that experience was like for you all. And like I said, I'll start with you, Tammy, and being able to
Okay,
deal with
Tammy.
that.
Mhm.
I sat there for a moment. I cried. The tears rolled down my face. I didn't want to remember, but I pushed through. Like That's why it took me 2 days. The second day, I came back and I just purged it out and just let it go, and I allow it to be released. And some things I couldn't even recall, because, you know, you're so small at that time and you try not to remember and you push things down.
Mm.
So for me to go into this meditation, to remember all these things, these vivid things that happened to me, it was a lot. Like I said, I just cried in that moment for that day, and I came back the second day, um, at peace, with it.
Wow. How about you, Miss Connie?
When I was writing it, I didn't cry because I remembered it vividly, but
Mm,
finished writing. It was on the 22nd of September, 2017, I remember. And I read it back and I cried and cried and cried for a long time. I did, because that's something that I had pushed down in my memory
Yeah.
over 30 years. My children were small, and they were like, I think 4 and 9, 4 and I just pushed it aside. Once I got out of this situation, I focused on moving ahead, taking care of them, improving myself and my education. So I tried not to think about it. And then one thing about it, and I'm going to bring it, since this is a public forum and we're talking about abuse, there are a lot of people who don't empathize with you, and they say that you brought it yourself. And that is not true. Things happen to a lot of women and men too. I've met
Yes.
male authors who have had spouse abuse with their wives. So it doesn't just happen to women, it happens to men too. So we have to stop shaming the victim or shaming the person who has gone through trauma and try to empathize with them. And the second point I want to bring up is, a lot of times they say, well, why did you wait all of these years to talk about it? It must not have happened. You must be lying. And I'm not referring to a particular case, but it was widespread in the news a few years ago. Well, that's because no one wants to talk about things like that, because they know that they were going to be shamed. And if there is an imbalance of power and you're working for someone who has all the power and you have none, then you feel that if you say anything, that they're not going to believe you. So what I do is just try to have empathy and empathize with people when they are telling their story. And we have to get it out, because once I got it out, and I had one of my assistants, and she said, just put it on Facebook, just say that. And I said, no, 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 no. She said, Miss Connie, she said, I put it on Facebook and just mention your story. And then I put it on there and I hear it. And she said, you got, I think it was 60, 70 likes in the first hour. That was, so I know now that there are people, women and men and children, who are suffering. And what I'm trying to do now is to get out and tell my story in the hopes that I can help someone. And they're listening. And I've had, at the end of my, when I do my Arthur talks, I've had women to come up, I've had men to come up, and they said they want to buy the book for their mother, for their sister, for their friend, and take it to them and for them to read it. So this is a real problem. And I'm not upset or crying or anything anymore. What I'm focused on is trying to help people by giving truth to power.
How about you, Ms.
For me, I guess because I had talked about my story for years to a therapist or to sisters in Christ. So my story wasn't like it was very, very, very deep within. So when I wrote it, I actually didn't cry at all. I didn't deal with the emotions. I guess I was coming from a point of healing. And I think that's important. I probably couldn't have done it years ago. That's why timing is important. And so I think I was healed and I accepted it. And so, I was like, okay, it's time to tell the world. And because I would tell bits and pieces to people, and because they responded in a positive way, I was like, this story really has an impact. It has truth to it. And one thing I forgot to mention, that I had my testimony in another young lady's book. That's one thing that really let me know that my testimony had power, because she didn't know me. She knew some of the other authors, but she didn't know me. And so once I saw that in her book, and I was like, wow, this story, because for me it was life, but for other people, it's like some people didn't make it through, but I made it through. So I dealt with a lot of rejection and self-esteem and just certain issues, not having a father there, not being close to your mom. So a lot of that I had already talked about, I had already went through. So I was surprised that I didn't have all those emotions. And some of it, I mentioned a little bit in the book, as far as I was editing when my grandmother was in the hospital. She's since passed. She passed 3 months after I early retired. and she was my closest family member. That right there kind of, you know, brings tears to my eyes. But I think I was healed. And because, and that's one thing authors need to know, if you're not a good writer, it doesn't mean that you can't publish a book or be an author. I'm a good speaker, but I hired people. So a lot of people don't know what a ghostwriter is. You may have to, you know,
Yes.
put off a little bit of money, but you need a team of people that can help you to get it out. Because as interviewing, I like to interview, like to ask questions, like to talk to people. Again, going back to my time in the radio, that's how I get my story out. If I had to sit down and write it, I would still be talking about it the next year. But I was able to talk it out and have that energy. I get energy from people. And I kept telling people about me writing a book. And I said, you know what, I can't talk about this one more time until I'm ready to write it. Because people talk. It's like, no, it's time to write this book. So it was healing and therapeutic for me, but my story was already out there. I already spoke my story at a previous church, because I would help, you know, different girls go through different things, that you would have seminars and conferences. So I had already put it out there. Now my story took a family member by surprise, so it affected them. And everybody is not going to be for you, whether family or not.
And that's
so
what I want
we
to
went
get
through
into.
a little bit about that, because it was my story. It's not how you see it, because it's not your story. You have to write your own story. But it was how I saw it and what I went through. And I didn't want to bash anybody, but it's like, this is my experience. And it's okay if people don't agree with my story or agree with my testimony. If I know God told me to say it, and I had a few people to reread it, then I'm going to say it. And I'm going to say it in a way that he tells me to say it. And so that's just, you know, that was my journey. It wasn't as painful as I would, you know, think it was, but I was able to make it through.
And see, you said something very important there, and this also, and I'll get each of you's opinion on it, because I know I've had a couple of authors that I've published that had to go through that very thing that you talked about, where with them telling their story, there were people that were involved in that story that they weren't looked upon as positively in the story. And my thing to them was, it's not bashing you. I said, if it's the truth, I said, if you're telling your truth, and there's nothing, there's nothing that's done on purposely to make them look bad or whatever. It is what it is. And like you are walking your truth, those individuals have to walk in their truth at what happened and what they did and recall. And so how was it? But the one thing that I did tell them, and you all can say or not whether you all did this, was those individuals, and it's kind of, yours might be a little different. Those individuals, yours too, Tammy, but those individuals that you incorporated in that story, did you have a conversation prior to the book coming out to let them know, hey, I'm writing the book. I'm just letting you know what's coming. You're not going to change it, but I'm just giving you fair warning, and you might not like some of the things that I have to say in here because of what happened. Was that what you all had to go? Each of you had to go through with telling your stories like that?
Well, for me, I didn't tell nobody. Everything is anonymous. But I did have family members call me and say, who was it? Who was it? Who was this? They had a suspicion. And I got some backlash about some stuff that I spoke about in another interview I had. But yeah.
Okay, for me, I changed his name because it was only one person in my book. So he's in chapter 6. So I changed his name, the city he was born in. Oh, it's Gary. It's Gary. I can't. Gary, there's something. They laughed at me when I read it. Hold on. Let me find out real quick what it is. Gary, the big city hustler. So that's who he was, and he can't sue me. So, and no, I did not talk to him about it. We haven't spoken quite some time.
Right. Absolutely.
I guess that could be one way of doing it, but you have to do what's right for you. For me, there are no names in the book.
Okay.
No names at all. So unless you were directly in my life or in my family, you would know it was you. So some of the people I no longer had contact with, And I made sure that I didn't just shed them in a light where everything was bad. I said, this is what happened. You know, my mom, she did the best that she could. She was a single mom, this, that, and the other. However, this is what happened. This is how it affected me. My father, I forgive him. He wasn't there. He can't give what he doesn't have. My ex-husband, we went through a lot. I had my part to play. This is what happened. So I made sure I kept it real, and I made sure that I shared both sides and probably shared their side on how they would saw it and what they would say. And this is how I saw it and just, you know, how I see it. But I made sure I put whatever blame on me that I needed to. And I made sure I gave both sides. Now, the person who didn't really care for it, that person wasn't even really in the book. So this is a family member. Right, I'm just like, right, I'm like, you were a little girl. How can you remember what happened in my life? But it's a lot of envy and jealousy when it comes to people around you. But yeah, I'm like, it's not even about you. So people's gonna find a way, yeah. But I didn't go and say, you know, this, that, and the other. Now, if it came to me after the fact, I would say, no, I did that because I wanted to help people. It had nothing against you. It had nothing to do, you know, but not many people have come to say anything. Like I said, I had people to reread it to make sure, how does this sound to you? What do you think? So.
Right.
Can I say something real quick?
Oh, can I say something quicker? Okay. I was just I was just going to say that since I've had my book published and been out, I've only had one person to say something negative about it. And when she said it, you know, I'm a Christian, but we lose our temper, right? And so I told her I didn't care. That is my story. That is my truth. And I never told her that was negative about me, didn't know me. And then I gave her the book for a gift, and she didn't like it, she could give it back. But that was the only person I guess in 3 years. But, you know, but we do feedback like anything in the world. You get negativity and you have to brush it off and keep on moving.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, I was just gonna piggyback off on Vanessa when she said, I forgot. Oh, she told, you know, her side, his side, they side, you know, every side. That's actually my part 3. Divorce, good, the bad, and the ugly, his side, my side, and the truth.
Right. That's what I say. I'm gonna tell you the good, the bad, the ugly about me.
Yeah.
Now my name is in there. They know me, but
That's
anybody
right.
else, they don't know unless you know in the family where you know I was married to one person. You know, because I talk about relationships. I don't say their name, just their experience, what I went through. You know, a particular lady, I did let her know that she was in the book because I went to an old, I saw an old classmate, and we had a reunion. And I let her know that one of the fight incidents in there, I let her know the fight. I said, look, you're in the book because, you know, and she bought the book.
Oh,
And we talked about how, you know, we got the fighting and I thought this and she thought that and it was this, that, and the other. And then she tried to put more blame on me, but no, I don't make you fight. I don't make you fight nobody. That was on you. So I told her I still have the little mark that when you bit me. So we just, so, but I did tell her, no, that was you. That
you should have been honored that you were, she was in your book.
Right. And she supported me. I was like, okay. So everybody else, I think my uncle may have talked to my ex-husband or father about it. I haven't really talked to him about it, but.
Now, I want to ask each of you this. What do you want the message, the overall message from your book or books to be when those readers have read that last page, they have read that last word? What's the message that you want them to come away with? And we'll start with you this time.
So who?
Yeah, Miss Connie.
Oh, I thought you said, okay. Oh, what's the message I want to leave is that you can be a victim of anything, but you do not have to let it ruin your life and overcome your life. And I am a believer and I have faith in God. So I turn to God for everything. So have strong faith and confidence. Don't let it stay in your life. Purge it out whatever way you can, and don't let it ruin your life. So the message is you can be a victim and you can be a survivor, but you can overcome it and move on with your life and be successful. Do not let it take you down. Do not let it dwell in you and turn you into the person that you don't want to be. And so my message is to help whoever that needs my help to read my story and see how I escape, because I am still here by the grace of God. So whatever encouragement I can do, I want my books, both of them, to encourage others.
How about you, Tam?
You would call on me.
Oh, you want me to let
Yes,
Vanessa go?
Tam
You want me to let Vanessa go, and then you can go. You can go last.
My book is all about healing and forgiveness. I'm just going to sum it up and make it very simple. It's in starting your journey in your healing and the process and the steps that you need to take. First, you need to forgive yourself, remove the shame. Once you forgive yourself, then you can start forgiving others or whomever hurt you and put you through that pain. And then at the end, that's where your healing is actually going to come from. Once you forgive yourself, once you start forgiving the situation or the ordeal or whatever happened to you, once you do that, you'll be fine. That's simple as that.
Yes.
How about you, Vanessa?
I would say that the pain that you have gone through or that you are going through is not in vain. God has a purpose for it. It didn't catch him by surprise. It may have caught you by surprise, but know that there's a purpose for it. Whether you've gone through the abuse, it's to help other women with abuse. Whether you've gone through abandonment or rejection, it's to help other people. Whether you've gone through, whatever it is, whether you're divorced, it not only makes you a better person when you make it to the other side, but it's a reason for it, and it is to help other people. So you have to push through, because if you don't push through, then you don't know who life you could have saved, or you don't know who you could be helping. And anybody can tell your side of the story, but only you can tell your story. And if you leave and go to the grave, there's nobody that can tell that story. So now you can't change the world because that story has gone with you. And also, it's not impossible to live your dreams. Like I said, you can prepare to live your dreams. Sometimes you have to jump out on faith. Sometimes you have to go to work every day to a 9 to 5 until you can jump out on faith. And I had to do that, but I made it out. And the way I made it was that I changed my mindset. And every day I would go in there and I would say, I'm going to meet with my investors. They're invested in my dream. And God put me in this situation to give him glory. And when I was able to leave out of there and not be fired, a guy who wasn't a believer, he said, I don't believe in God per se, but there is a God. My story, your story will prove that there's a God. And things had to happen a certain way so that only God can get the glory. No EO specialist, no union, no supervisor, no spiritual system, nobody will get the glory from my story, because God allowed it to happen the way he allowed it to happen. And so you have to be in position to allow God to move. And I named it 8 steps because 8 is new beginning. And both my titles are 7. They're long, but 7 is completion. So you have to start. If you want a better tomorrow, you have to start today, and you have to start making those steps in your faith, in your finances, in your future. You have to believe, because if you don't believe in you, then who will? So I just want to encourage you to keep moving, never stop, keep pushing.
Amen.
And that's the thing about when you tell your story, when you're telling you all story, because I've said this and I've found out that a lot of people think that they're the only ones going through something. And when you allow yourself to tell your story, as each of you have done, you give someone else permission to be able to tell their story, because they see, wow, I'm not the only one that has gone through this. I'm not the only one that has experienced that. And it gives them strength, and they feed off of that. So I thank each of you for telling your story. All right, and I know we gonna keep going. So I hope y'all don't mind. Y'all can hang for a little bit, because I want to get into a couple of these things. But
okay, it's good.
I want each of y'all to talk about this. We're gonna have some fun now, y'all. I want y'all to talk about. I want y'all to talk about. I want you to give like your worst experience as an author, and then I want you to give your best experience as an author. Let's start with those, and let's go with. We'll start with you first, Vanessa. Let's start with which then your best experience as an author, and your worst experience first, and then your best experience.
My worst, okay. I was starting to write, and I was looking for a group of people. That's why you need a good team first. And I was referred to a young lady, and I went and talked to her, and she discouraged me so bad that when I left her office, I went to a store. I won't say the name because they're not paying me to give them shout outs. I went to a store and I walked through the store just thinking to myself, like, God, what am I going to do? And I was so stressed out that I sometimes stress eat sweets because chocolate and desserts make everything better. This makes the world look better. So I was walking to the store and I didn't even pay for it. And I'm not saying to do this, but I ate a chocolate bar and and I ate it as I walked through the store and I went to pay for it. And I went and sat in the car and the person that referred me to her, I called them and was like, they're already an author. So they should have been mentoring me. But sometimes instead of you mentoring them, they're trying to get information from you. And I called him and he made me feel worse because even though I had supported him for years, helping him sell his products, just for supporting him. And he said, well, I didn't tell you to do that. So I felt so bad. And this was the beginning of my first book. And I had to push through. Because I felt so bad. The people that's supposed to encourage you, it just made you kind of feel worse. And I can't remember what it was with that young lady, but I just felt really bad that it drove me to chocolate, and I felt better after that. Felt better. And then I kept pushing and I kept moving.
So what was your best experience?
My best experience is when someone come back and because not many people would give you feedback or reviews or whatever. When they come back and say, your story helped me and this is how. Or if I'm speaking and I hear that, that's right, amen, that's what I'm talking about. Or if they come up to me to the table afterwards to let me know this is what I'm going through, the same thing, this is how. So it's based on other people. It's not based on sales because I am not Amazon #1 seller. Not to say you shouldn't push for that. And maybe one day I will be, I don't know. But it's not the money, the profits, the sales, that's nice. But it's how I've impacted other people. And my books have gone out of the country. I may not ever make it there, but I just donated 2 books to Cameroon. Other books are going to Jamaica. I mean, some of my books have gone to the jails. So it's those testimonies and how I've impacted people's lives is what makes me smile and what makes me cry.
Right.
How about you, Ms. Brown?
Okay, I'm not going to go into detail, but my worst experience was with my second book with my publisher. So she and I are no longer working together. And so that's why you are my new publisher, Leroy. And my brand. But, people change their mind and they have a contract and then they don't do a contract for the second book. And then they tell you one price and when the book is published, then they give you another price. And so we had problems with that because I failed to get a second contract for my second book. And so that was my responsibility. So I did go ahead and pay her what she asked for, and then I dissolved the relationship.
Right.
So my lessons learned is make sure you have a contract for every book, right? Okay.
Right.
My best experience would be the feedback when first time I had an author talk was at the Alexandria Library. And since then I've had 2. And the reception and feedback that you get from people, they're so happy. They embrace you. To me, you were so well respected. And even my neighbors I've attended, and it just made me feel so good about my book. The fact that I was able to write my story, the fact that it gave me peace, that helped me a lot. And I also have my book globally. Amazon has sent it to, I don't know how many different countries, but I just happened to go on Google and search, and I found several reviews from different countries about my book. And so far I've gotten 5-star reviews. So that makes me feel good. And just like Vanessa, I didn't do it for the money. Praise God. I didn't do it for the money. I did it to help people. But helping people, it helps me because I know that was what I was here for and intended for. So just getting the good feedback and the reviews help, and the fact that you're helping people, that's the biggest reward to me.
Absolutely. How about you, Ms. Tang?
I didn't have a bad experience, honestly. I had a great experience, and the best experience was finishing it finally. And I was excited because I self-published myself. I didn't go to a publisher. I didn't go to no one. I did all this on my own, self-published. I written it on my own. I didn't go to nobody for advice. I gave it to my editor. She did a great job. Gave it to my did my book cover, all that. Everything strategically set in place. I did it that it needed to be done because I did my research. So I was happy with it. I put in the work, you know. I didn't have a bad experience really. But I was listening to Vanessa when she was saying, you know, people wasn't supporting this and supporting that. And I understood that everybody's not going to support your dream and what your God-given purpose is. So we can't expect people to. And we have to understand that because I left that alone. I said, you know what? Although my family loves me, they don't supposed to buy my book. You know what I'm saying? They don't have to buy my book. Like, that's not what they're supposed to do. They can do what they want to. They're a customer too. So I'm at peace with that. So, I have a bad experience.
So how about your best experience?
My best experience was finishing it because it was the anxiety of when I produced it and putting it on Amazon, self-publishing and stuff. I had to go back and critique this. They sent this back to me in the email. I had to go back and critique, you know, so that part. And I found it was uploaded. It said, your ebook is uploaded. Your paperback is uploaded and live. I was like, yes.
Yes. That's exciting.
And then, please not come to be an author to be rich because you not.
Right. It's a
We're all
serious
about telling your story.
Exactly.
Helping others to heal and to grow through your story and your pain and helping them understand that they're not by themselves.
That's
through
right.
your pain, your journey, through your story. And that's what it's about. It ain't
Now,
about the money. Trust and
right
believe.
now, I will say when I saw that it was one review, when it was a bad review from the family member, that really, yeah, I had to call whoever the head of the department was and let them know, can they please take it down, because I welcome feedback. But I'm like, if you read it, you can tell it's a little sibling rivalry in there. It's a little jealousy and envy. Can you please read it and take it down? Yeah. And so of course they spread throughout the family. I can't believe. So that was a bad
that was a bad experience.
That, yeah.
Wow.
But it made me
I mean, I
stronger.
tell you that's, you know, you can't say, and you can't say, you know, you expect that from perfect strangers. That's kind of the understandable. They read something they don't like, but when you know that it's a family member that's coming from, you know, that comes from that hater place and everything like that, that's a little sad.
I expect it from family. I don't expect it from a stranger because they know you. They feel like they know you best.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Just like Jesus' followers, he lived in Nazareth. That's who didn't listen to him. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's what he said. Yeah, I mean, but that was the truth. The Nazareth was the ones that, I mean, the fact that they said, can any good thing come from Nazareth?
Right.
You know, even when he went back to Nazareth, they didn't welcome him.
Mm-hmm.
So who are we to expect it, you know,
right.
to have our family?
Exactly.
Right.
All right, here's the next question. Now, I asked you all earlier about the message that you wanted the people to get from your books.
Mm-hmm.
So here's a question for each of y'all. What have you learned about yourself as a writer in writing your book? What has it taught you about you? Let's start with Tammy. We'll start with you first.
Yes.
One more time. You're kind of low.
Oh, I'm sorry. What have you learned about yourself as a writer with your books? What has it taught you about you?
That I can actually do it. Because my teacher, when I was in English, when I took English and lit and all this stuff in high school, my teacher told me, oh girl, you write like you talk. You write like you talk. This is when I was 13, 14, 15 years old. So I took that with me for a long time. So when I started writing my poetry and stuff, that's when I realized I am a writer. I don't have to listen to an outsider because she don't like how I write because who she is and how she writes. Yes, I do write like I speak. But you know what? I got an editor.
How about you, Vanessa?
It taught me that I can write and I can write well, but it's not something that I want to do.
Mhm.
So that let me know that I have to get a good team of people. And I keep saying that. And it let me know my strengths and my weaknesses. Like
Mhm.
if I'm inspired, like I was just inspired to write special messages for a frame. I had 2 frames made and I shared it with you all for my
Mhm.
aunt and my grandmother. I
Mhm.
did that probably in a matter of 10 to 15 minutes. I did a poem for my grandmother for her 85th birthday. I did that just like that. But it has to come, it comes in spurts and it comes in and I was actually in tears and crying and trying to get those frames together. But it doesn't come natural for me every day or when I want it to, or when it for a book, or it doesn't come like that. It comes for something very special, something sentimental, something short and sweet and to the point. So I realized that, and it's okay if I have to force myself to write for something, then I'm able to do it and I can make the challenge. But if I have to do it for a book, it's more of a chore for me. It feels like I'm working for somebody. I feel like I'm back in school writing speeches. So it let me know that it's my strength. I'm a speaker and it's okay. And
Mhm.
it's a way I can get it done
Mhm.
by getting reliable people. Your team matters. So I'm pulling on all those strengths of being a
I
speaker. Yeah.
like that. Your team matters. That's true. That is
Yes.
so true. How about you, Miss Connie?
Okay. What was the question again? I'm sorry.
What did writing
I was listening as a listener.
what have you learned about
I'm
yourself
so sorry.
as a writer? What has writing your books taught you about you?
Oh, right. Okay, now. What it has taught me is I thought I was a good writer, and I am, but it's nothing like having an editor. And I found that out from my publisher. She did have a team that were great editors,
Mhm.
and she was a good publisher. So I found that out. Also, it's always good to read over and review everything that you sent, including your last manuscript before it's finally published.
Yeah.
What I have learned is that I can write a book because it took me 15 years just to write my first book. And the 15 years ago, I was going to write about a trip I went to in Mexico that has nothing to, I mean, I did write it and I said, oh, this one went anywhere. Nobody would have put it's like a travel journal. This is a travel journal. I found it and I finished it up last year, and I sent it out to 2 or 3 people. They didn't even respond back that they read it. So it goes to show you the same thing as Vanessa. To me, I've done my second book, and I'm happy and satisfied with those 2 because that is my passion. I put everything into it my whole life, in abbreviated form, what I went through, my achievements, in my Bible verses, my affirmations, the little poem, Mother Goose poem. Uh, about Wednesday's child has turned into Thursday's child because I always had. I was born on a Wednesday, October the 8th, and which is coming up next week. And I always thought, I was full of woe. I really believed that as a child. So it set in my mind, self-critic, that something was going to always happen to me. And so it just rejuvenated me. When I finished my book, I cried tears of joy because I had finally finished it. And that was my story. And I just felt a sense of achievement and confidence. So that's how it changed my life. That's how it changed my life. And
Wow.
hold my head up and walk out and talk about what I went through because I can claim the victory now. Not a victim, but victory. And that's how I feel about life now. And I just can walk and tell people about it. This is what God put me through. But like Vanessa said, when he put you through, you what you go through, you come out on the other side a better person, a stronger person. What doesn't make you stronger. And that's the way I feel.
Absolutely.
So
Now,
you asked the
okay,
question, Leroy.
this is the last thing before we get into, before I want everybody to give their contact information for where everybody can purchase you all's books. What advice would you give to an aspiring writer? And we're going to start with you, Ms. Connie.
Advice I would give to an aspiring writer is what is your why? What is your passion? What is your dream? What is something that makes you on fire? And then that passion and drive will fuel you to write your book. Um, Look at it from the purpose of if you were a reader, and you read your book, would it inspire you? And if it
Mm,
inspires you and makes you cry, makes you emotional, and at the end, and that's what you were meant to do. So I would just say pick something that you are on fire about, that you are passionate about, and let that drive you.
absolutely. I love that. I love that. All right, Miss Tammy, how about you?
Um, just start. That's it. I mean, just start. Start journaling, start writing, just do it. I mean, you have to. And if you need help, come to me. I'll coach you through it.
That's my girl. That's my
There it
Like
girl.
is
Vanessa
right
said,
there.
she got all these people to help her. Listen, you heard go arm of people right here.
That's right.
Right.
Absolutely. How about you? How about you, Miss Vanessa?
I would say journaling probably does help. I'm not a good
Mm-hmm.
journaler. I'm kind of learning to, I mean, I write a lot down, but a
Mm-hmm.
journaler as far as every day, I'm writing it down because that would help.
Mm-hmm.
Like she said, I would start, do your research to
Mm-hmm.
know who you are hiring, because another bad experience, I did hire somebody that didn't do what they said they want to do. So definitely, like you said, get a contract. I said, Miss Connie, get a contract. Run it past a few people just to ask them, trusted people that you
Right.
can confide in, that wants your best interest, and say, well, what do you think? This is what I'm trying to do. Again, you want to have the best editor, proofreader, book designer. A lot of people can do it themselves. I just know me. So in knowing yourself, you have to know what you can do and what you have to ask other people to help you do. And don't be afraid to ask for help. I've always done everything myself. So me asking for help, it's a lot. So, and also I'm a recovering perfectionist. So it's hard to explain to people what I want because
Exactly.
I'm so busy going back and forth tweaking.
Right.
And so
I'm
everything
doing
is
that,
not going to be
Vanessa.
perfect.
Yeah.
Right. Everything is not going to be perfect. I have gone back to my first book and made some
Uh-huh.
changes.
Mm-hmm.
So you do have to get started and don't give up. I don't care what obstacles, there's always going to be obstacles.
That's
Put
right.
it down if you have to for a little while. Don't put it down for too long, and don't
No.
put it up on the shelf. Keep
Nope.
it. Don't 10, 15, 20 years from now, I'm still
Yeah.
going to write this book. I'm still going to, because people don't
Yeah.
want to keep hearing that. They want to see a book. They don't want to keep hearing
Exactly.
So
Right.
definitely be intentional about it. And it's not gonna be perfect, but definitely keep going. If you choose to talk to people about it before you put it out, okay. If you don't want to talk to the people who may be involved about it, that's okay. Don't worry about the negative feedback, because it's a lot of positive feedback out there, even when you don't get that positive feedback.
Right.
It's changing people's lives. So get started and keep going, and don't stop until it's done.
And one more thing, don't give your manuscript to anybody. Always keep your copy until it's time to turn into your editor and your publisher. And because of the fact that someone might steal your ideas. And I'm just out there. Anything can happen. That's why you have copyrights. So
You always want to protect your intellectual property.
protect your intellectual
And,
property.
and even with the publishers, initially you should only be sending them maybe a chapter at a time. Send them a chapter
Really?
two.
I'm just
Yeah,
learning this. Really?
yeah. So that they can, because initially you want to make sure that because you may not want them to be your publisher once, or
Oh, I
they may not want,
Okay.
I know with me, I always tell them, send me the first two chapters, because I may not want to publish it. I may read those first two chapters and be like, nah, this is not something that
okay.
that we want to take on. Or they may say, you know what, after they've seen my my packages that I send them, they may not decide to go with me. So that way you protect yourself and you protect them as well. You only have a
So,
chapter or two, they can't have the whole thing. And
okay.
you have to be careful, because you have to be careful. You want to be
That's
careful,
true.
and if you feel that you want to send the whole thing, sometimes you have you get a non-disclosure agreement, a non-disclosure agreement that you send to them. Before I
Right.
send you my full manuscript, I'm going to give you this non-disclosure agreement that you need to sign, so that if you do not decide, if we don't decide to work together, you can't take what I've sent to you
That's
and
true.
use it somewhere else. That protects you as
Wow.
well too.
That's very important.
Yeah.
Right.
So those are the kind of things that you want to talk about. Really quickly, I want to pick up just on a couple of things that y'all talked about. Journaling. I don't have it right next to me. I don't have it right here next to me, which is
Mm-hmm.
ironic. But I always say you should have a book of notes. I have what I call a book of notes. Well, I got my phone here because my phone is my other part of my book of notes, because I'll put something in my notes section
Mm-hmm.
in my book very quickly because I don't want to forget it. I don't want to forget it. I always want to have it. And in case you get those 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock
Mhm.
wake up calls from God or from somebody that where you download stuff to you and he wakes you up and you gotta write it down. You always want to
Right.
have that pen and paper. You want to have that phone right next
Right.
to you so you can, even just to come back to it, but you want to get those initial thoughts down so that you can come back and think about what it was that kind of bring back to remembrance what it was that you were trying to remember
Mm-hmm.
in regards to that. So that's very important that you have the book of notes with the journal because it'll help you with whatever project that you may be thinking about doing or that you do decide to go to or do and everything like that. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's important. Um, all right, I want everybody to give their contact information, how people can purchase your books, where they can purchase your books, where they can. I think all of us are speakers, so where they can contact you, connect with you to do the virtual speaking, because I think that's what's going on right now. Nobody's doing the in-person speaking as far as I know, but you can do the speaking, virtual speaking engagements and things like that. So, Ms. Vanessa, we'll start with you with the contact information. I'll be connected.
Okay, at social media, Vanessa Fleeton, VANESSAFLEETON. And my website is vanessafleeton.com. Both books are on Amazon.com and it's on my website as well. Now, I do have some. Let me try to show you my t shirt right here. Look at this. Look at
I
this.
saw that. Saw you
All
blinging.
right. Wow. Your
That's right. That's right. Woman of purpose.
Blinging. And
Yes. So
she
these
got my
t
she got, even though they lost last night, she got my purple and black on. So
right. So
I love
these
that.
t-shirts are available. I have other bling t-shirts as well and other bling products. So you can
Mm-hmm.
find that on my Facebook or just kind of let me know because I love to bring bling into the life of people. I have natural hair rocks because I rock natural hair.
Uh-huh.
So certain things that mean something to me, I have committed to my purpose, which is a title in my book. That's a t-shirt as well. So definitely reach out to me if you need to get products, if you need me to speak, if you need me to come out to an event. That's definitely the best way. You can contact me through social media and my website.
Okay.
absolutely. How about you, Miss Connie?
Okay, I'm Connie Amos Parsons and at your service events planner LLC. I have a link on that. I'm getting my new website built now. It will be connieamosparsons.com. So that's not available yet. Both of my books, Peaks, Valleys, and Overcoming the Odds, Stepping Out on Faith and in Confidence, that is on Amazon. And the How Did I Change My Life Today, 8 Steps to Success is self-published. So you can pre-order that. And with that, I can include both books for $40 instead of the $25 for just one book. So they can contact me and pre-order. I've already sold out of them. And the first person who actually bought it was a gentleman in New York City. And I've sent it to Florida as well. So I'm very proud of that, of both of them. I'm also on LinkedIn under Connie Amos Parsons, and feel free to contact me for speaking. I've spoke on podcasts, of course, Facebook Live, Zoom as well. I've done in-person speaking, so feel free to contact me. I'm available to speak to groups, empowerment, motivation, inspiration, and I also teach leadership and business class. Thank you all so much for having me this evening.
Absolutely. Miss Tammy?
Woo! I don't know how I can go behind y'all.
You're funny.
Listen, I just get
Round
started,
table,
guys.
baby.
These guys are gurus. They are doing their thing. I am so proud of you guys. Like I said in the beginning, I'm so glad y'all have me here because I'm learning. I'm growing with you guys. Listen, they doing their thing. I have my Women's Wellness Connection Center that I'm just now starting to build. I just started it actually in May. That I will start, like I said, launching it in October. You can reach me on. I don't want to put my card up here because my number's on there. So I don't want to do that. But please feel free to inbox me if you want to get started writing your books, or just get started. Just it's all about get up, get started. Let's get motivated. Thank you so much, Miss Connie. She is amazing. Look at I ain't got my own book. Connie got my book, y'all.
I got your book. I want it. That's right.
Right. Always keep your books close. Always keep your books close.
I know. I'm gonna start doing that from now on.
Yes.
Whenever you go, to an event or you're on an event, you always want to have your book right there. Or book
That's right.
See how I'm learning? See, I'm learning. Y'all see?
Mm-hmm.
See, y'all.
Okay. Tammy, what's your Facebook page, girlfriend?
Yeah, on your
My
your social
page
media.
is Goddess Tammy Marie. My fiance calls me that.
That's all right. He know you're a goddess.
So it's Goddess Tammy Marie. And so you can reach me, you can message me at any time. You need some mentorship, you need some coaching to get you the fire back. If you're already into something, but you need some fire. If you need to help strategically help you set goals, stay focused, stay disciplined, get you back on routine. That's me. If you need some, even if you're a teen, I help teens that's been abused, that's been broken, that's going through whatever it's going through, that's been bullied. Please inbox me. My fiance also does the same thing with boys. I do it with girls with his academy.
Awesome.
So I'm also a speaker. I'm actually, what I'm doing up next, I have my book signing is October the 17th. It's going to be in Atlanta, Georgia. Upcoming next, I have an interview with some colleges. I have an interview with Clark University College on October the 7th. They want to put my book in as a curriculum to talk to girls, to help them strategically place them. You know, when they go into these parties, they live in these dorm rooms and stuff like that. They want me to speak about that. And just, you know, I'm just still striding through and working on my part 2 book, Dating to Marriage, because it's a trilogy. It's going to become a play, and I'm actually producing a movie next year from my brokenness to wholeness. My book. Yeah, I have a producer, Colette.
Can I star in one of them? Can I?
Right. Don't forget. Don't forget us. Forget.
We do a walk on. I be the walk on.
Don't forget about us.
Just like my mom.
Lady who walked on.
No, you look like my mom.
Oh, okay. I be your mom. I be
because you're Native American. I'm telling you, I'm not saying you old, but I'm just saying because I'm old.
I'm not saying you old
together. You gonna play my mom.
I play your mom. All righty now. All righty. I claim that. Thank you.
Right.
All right.
We have the votes. We have the same.
All right, come on, Tyler Perry. We ready?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm gonna be with Tyler Perry next. I'm
That's right.
on Friday.
That's right.
And I'm in Atlanta with him, so I'm
Right.
excited.
That's right.
So just inbox me, guys. Help me get your book started for some mentorship, coaching. Let's go. Let's get it. Let's have fun. Enjoy your life. Find your purpose. Yes, find your purpose.
What do you do? What can we call you?
Fellas, this is what happened when you get in the room with women.
You know what? See, we was all family until you went there. We was all family.
I know.
I gotta cook.
know.
My food
Don't
today.
hate
I'm
me,
hungry
lady.
now.
What y'all
I'm
say?
hungry
I'm
for my
just
food.
telling the truth. I'm just
That's
telling
right.
the truth.
That's okay. We know we make you feel good. That's okay. Eat more from your house. That's all right.
But
We got on track. Okay, we back on track. Okay.
but
Back on track.
Like
Mhm.
Miss Vanessa, hey, I have. Can y'all see that?
Oh, be unstoppable.
It's not just.
It's a mindset. Hot
not just the
dog.
hashtag, y'all. That's
What I say. Mindset.
That's all right.
One of my lines that I have, in addition to my books that I have too. But you can connect with me through my website, which is www.jnfenterprises.com. The JNF, for people that don't know, JNF stands for Jesus Never Fails. That is what my company is grounded in, who we are grounded in, what we do, all those things. My social media, Facebook, you can connect with me on my page, Roy McKenzie Jr. or JNF Enterprises LLC. Let's see, Twitter at JNF Enterprises 1, Instagram at JNF Enterprises, LinkedIn, my name, Leroy McKenzie Jr., and YouTube. This is where this will be as well. So
YouTube.
you all can go to YouTube.
I'm on YouTube too. Yeah.
And watch
Yeah, I forgot to say that.
channel. So, and what we'll do is we'll attach this because this is on Facebook Live. We'll have everybody put their information in the comment section as
Okay,
well.
thank
So that people
you.
can, have it and connect with you all as well too.
Awesome, thank
I'd love to
you.
do that. So, last thing before we get out of here, ladies, really quickly, I want one word that describes you as a writer. Let's go. Tammy, you first.
Wow, I was gonna go first.
Yeah, no.
One word describes me as a writer: resilience.
I like that.
It's what is it? Resilience? As
Resilience.
Mhm.
What's yours, Miss Connie?
Authentic.
Mm.
That's right. One
How
of
about
me.
you, Miss Vanessa?
Inspirational.
I like that. Mine is
Yes.
impact, of course. If y'all don't know, yeah, I don't call myself the impact builder for nothing because it's all about
That's right.
impacting people's lives. Ladies,
Yes.
this has been fun. This has
It
been
has
fun.
been
It
I
has
promise like that.
been.
This has been dope.
We gotta do this again, guys.
Yeah, this is
Yes.
something that we hope that the authors, not just the authors actually, but those that are part of the group, the boss leaders and business owners of the 21st century, that they've enjoyed, and then those that we've shared it out to. Don't forget to share it out, because we
Okay.
want people to get these messages. I mean, each of you have a special message that I think resonates with people. And I don't take it lightly when I hear or even know about people who have been unashamedly courageous to share their story, because it takes a lot to pull your story out so that other people can not only hear it but actually feel it, and then also experience it too, because they experience you through the books that you all have written, and that's a powerful thing. Our words have power. And I know people have said that to us, and we've heard it many times, but our words really do have power. And as I said before, you all give someone else permission to go through what they're going through because of you all putting your experience out there and being transparent in what you all have done and what you all have gone through. Because you could have just said, I've gone through what I've gone through, I'm healed, and that's what it is, what I'm done. But by you writing the books that you've written, I promise you, you make people better after they've read your book, after they've heard your story, after they've had the encounter with you. They're better after than they were before. And to me, that's what building the impact is all about. It's making people better after they talk to you, after they experience you than they were before. And when we tell our stories like this, or when we write books, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, the goal is, to me, should always be to make people better. So I appreciate each of you for sharing, for caring enough to want to share and everything like that. So we'll read the comments, we'll see the replay, all y'all. We'll share it out to everybody, and everybody who hopefully that is tuned in or will tune in through the replay, they'll do the same. But it has been a great time this evening. I'm gonna let y'all go and have enjoy the rest of your evenings. But as I always say, this is 2020, y'all. We're moving fast and furious with purpose and passion, and build the impact, because when you build the impact, you change the world, and each of you are changing the world by showing and telling everyone your experiences through your book. So I want to thank y'all for tuning in.
Thank
It's
you.
your boy.
Thank you. Bye, Vanessa. Bye, Tammy. Bye,
All right.
Leroy.
So y'all have a good evening, okay?
Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. I made it through my first Zoom. Thanks for encouraging me. Don't be scared, y'all, of the Zoom. This is my first time. And I'm looking forward to more. Don't be scared.
Good.
That's awesome. Thank you all so much. God bless you.
Absolutely.
God bless you.
Okay.
All right, everybody. Have a good night, okay?
I gotta go cook.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, honey.
Bye.